is like the fourth. You're the fourth person I've interviewed this week.
Wow.
I got a whole nother one coming up tonight. I'm going to Gambit's in Frankfurt, recording there.
You're cranking them out.
Well, you got to backlog them while you can, while you're free.
Yes.
So how you been, Bill? Bill Swinford?
Swinford? Is that pronouncing my name?
Swinford? I pronounced it Swineford for a while at one point.
I'm not sure you've gotten it right yet.
Swinford.
That's okay. That's it.
I got it right eventually.
That's it.
On stage during Moana, I didn't, though.
Yeah. It's good to see you. It's been since Oklahoma, probably, or maybe I ran into you somewhere. But
you did you come see Rocky at all?
No, Sophia was there.
Yeah, I know she was there, but you weren't there. Yeah, Oklahoma. There we go.
Still can't get over it.
That was what, your first show in how long?
First show in 40 years.
40 years.
Right. Matter of fact, this is my 40-year reunion this year for high school. It's been since high school that I was in a show that people were buying tickets to go to. I mean, I've been in church things and stuff.
Well, yeah, but what was that show in high school?
The last show I did was a show called Give My Regards to Broadway, which was a kind of a mixture of other shows kind of combined into one story. So a lot of patriotic songs.
I gotcha.
George M. Cohan's songs. Give My Regards to Broadway, You're a Grand Old Flag, this kind of stuff. And so that was my senior year. My junior year was another kind of obscure show called Fiorello. Now, Fiorello is a very cool show because it was big in the 50s in New York because Fiorello was Fiorello LaGuardia, who was the mayor of New York in the 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, somewhere in there. And he was already out of office, but well remembered and was a real character. So they built a musical around him, and it was on Broadway in the 50s, and nobody had done it. No, still to date, nobody's done it around here that I know of. So that was kind of a neat show, kind of a mobster kind of New York thing.
Yeah, so you kind of know all about it.
Yeah. And then my sophomore year I was in what is still my favorite show of all time, and because I've done it in churches, I've done it. I helped Art Starts do it, and that was Godspell.
Oh yeah, I love Godspell.
Godspell was.
He blessed the holy rain.
Yeah.
Oh, bless the Lord, my soul.
Yeah, you got it.
You got it.
Day by day.
Day by day. If I had a candle, editor, add this in. Me having a little candle right here.
So my aunt, when I was a little kid, this is like 1973 or so, maybe 4, maybe I was about 8 years old. My aunt had bought the Godspell soundtrack album because the Godspell movie came out in the early 70s after it had been big on Broadway. So she bought that for us. And so then my brother and I just knew all of these songs, but we'd never actually seen it until we were in it, which is almost 10 years later.
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, we fell in love with it. I've done it with youth groups, and it's such a fun show, but yet very touching. And even though you got Jesus as a clown and the disciples as clowns, you just
it still gets the message
very
across.
Emotional and gets the message across. Yeah. And my freshman year was Annie Get Your Gun, and that's the most classic musical that I've done.
Yeah.
Is Annie Get Your Gun.
So it's if you're oh my gosh, I can't talk.
Take your time, Nick.
You're a religious man, right? Kind of.
I am a man of faith. Not crazy about the word religious, but I am a man of faith. I'm probably the least religious man, because religion is kind of based on rules and doing things properly in a certain way. I'm not necessarily that guy. I do try to live my life under Jesus' teachings.
Yeah.
But I do it out of love, not out of obligation to some religion.
Yeah,
so,
I gotcha.
You know
You just kind of want to follow his lifestyle, kind of. Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah, and just just be open to the Holy Spirit to work through me. So I do youth ministry. I've done youth ministry off and on my whole adult life, and I did it as a actual youth pastor, as a vocation for quite a while. And now I actually pastor a little church out in the country, but I also am involved in helping with the youth ministry at Marion Aldersgate Church, which is a great church with a great youth program. So that is where I'm at on
Okay.
that.
So you're also kind of like a family man too, right?
I like to think so. Yeah, we got 4 kids, and
Four?
yeah.
I thought it was just two.
No,
Didn't know it
no.
was
My
four.
oldest is Riley. Riley works with me, and he's my partner in my business, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
I'm sure we'll talk about it at
Swinford
some
Media Group.
point.
But thank you. But uh, he's now 30. He's about to turn 32, which blows my mind. And then I have Sam, who is a 25-year-old basketball coach, head basketball coach at Southeastern Illinois College.
Ooh.
And then Ross is now 21. He's a student here at SIU and studying to be a sports marketing guy. He already works for the athletic department for the Salukis and doing a lot of that. And then Sophia, of course. And Sophia is 15, going on 30.
15 going on 30.
She's looking forward to 16. 16 comes in June.
It's a sweet 16. You can drive. You can get a lot of jobs. It's good.
Yeah.
So I know like you've had like your experience like we talked about you doing theater with like your high school. But what's kind of your standpoint right now doing theater with like Skyline or Art Starts or Creative? Like how do you work your way into that?
Well, okay, so I first got reconnected to the theater world through Sophia because I had like I said I have 4 kids, but the first 3 were jocks. They weren't theater kids.
Yeah.
They're not overly musical. Sophia was that kid for me, and so from a young age, we had her in dance, and we had her singing, and we had her participating. She did her first Art Starts musical when she was 5, and that was technically too young back then, and they let her in anyway. It's the first time Art Starts did Little Mermaid. She was in that, and she's been in just about every show since then. And so that was a natural fit for me to get connected. For a while, I worked with them and helping market Art Starts and use some of some of the skills I have to help build up and find them sponsors. And we went out and recruited Watermark in, and Watermark has been huge as a supporter for Art Starts. But eventually, Swinford Media Group, as it became a company, got involved in sponsoring that, and now we also do the same thing with Creative.
Yeah,
it's very important to us to be involved in, especially children's theater, but just supporting any kind of community theater.
It's kind of like it's a two-way thing. You promote them, and then they promote you, kind of, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely works both ways. It does a lot of good for us to be able to stand on the stage before a show and representing who we are, and thank all of those people. But there are hundreds of people out there at every show, and to be able to associate us with something really good that's going on, and there's no doubt. Even the worst show
still leaves a good impression.
It's a good thing. So we are happy to be involved in that, and I always kind of thought that's where it would just kind of be. It would just be a sponsorship thing. But Sophie, along the line, said because she knew that I had done some as a kid, and because I had directed a couple in church settings, she wanted to do something with me. And I said, well, if the right thing ever comes along. We actually came close. Maybe it was when Skyline did...
Hunchback?
No, it was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was like, what, 4 years ago?
I think so. So it's been a few years ago. We almost did it, but the timing wasn't right. My work wasn't going to allow it. And so this came along. I really didn't know Oklahoma. I knew some of the songs, but I'd never sat and watched Oklahoma beginning to end.
Me neither.
And so it was, even though I'm old enough that I should know that show, I didn't. But it seemed interesting, and I'd made this promise to Sophia a long time ago, and so we went for it.
And I think you guys did really good. I think my favorite photo in any Swinford Media Group or Bill Swinford photo was him pointing a gun at Richard Zimmerman.
That was a lot of fun.
It was, and it was really fun because our dressing rooms were split into 2. We had like the 4 main leads on stage right, and then us and the rest of the ensemble on stage left. And you get a lot of memories behind stage too with it.
Right. Yeah. No, we thoroughly enjoyed every bit of that. And of course, Sophia already knew all of you all so well. I mean, there were a few people that she hadn't gotten to, but even Rich, for instance. Rich had been the director for Art Starts of the first Beauty. No, it wasn't Beauty and the Beast. Well, maybe it was Beauty and the Beast. The first time they did Beauty and the Beast, I think Rich had directed that. He directed one Art Starts show, and Sophia just had this vague memory as a 6 or 7 year old of having had him as a director. But she knew she loved him, and so she was thrilled to get to grow closer to him.
Yeah.
But then all of the rest of you all are friends. She grew closer, I think, to everybody in the show, and then I got the chance to hang out with you all.
Yeah, I know. I first met Sophia doing Hello Dolly with Art Starts back in November of 2022. That was a good show. Yeah. It was a lot of dancing. Yeah, I'll tell you that.
She loves a lot of dancing.
And I mean, that's how I first met her. Then I think when did I first meet you? I don't.
Well, I didn't really meet you before you just started throwing my name around.
Did I?
Yeah, and incorrectly pronouncing it, but you were throwing my name around a little bit, and so then just for kicks, I think I threw your name back out there one time.
Oh yeah.
And then you what show were you in?
I think it was either Music Man or Moana. I think
Moana. You were playing what?
Tamatoa.
Yeah, see, I think that's when you did it. I think you worked it into the show itself.
Oh yeah. So what happened was at the end of Moana Junior, the onstage version of Moana, Tamatoa's song "I'm So Shiny," that song. There's the big guy up here, Tamatoa. He at the end we changed the words a little bit because it originally said Sebastian never had it this hard. And we thought that was kind of weird and whatnot. So every night I changed it up. The first night we did it, I said Dolly Levi, property of Dolly Levi, which we did Hello Dolly, the show before. Then the second night I did property of Josh Benson in the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. That's where we were performing. And then the third night, my intent was to say property of Swinford Media Group, but instead I said property of Swinford Media Group. And then I think that became a whole inside joke that we had.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history, and here we are.
Yeah, I think we had met at some point before that.
Maybe I was taking a photo of Sophia, and then you took our picture.
But I do remember you in Hello Dolly. You were the judge.
Yeah, I was the judge.
I just thought you were just hilarious. I remember asking Sophia who was that guy because just of your well, it's honestly it's not that far from the real Nikki anyway. But just your demeanor up there during that scene, the way you were getting irritated and coming at people and moving that thing along so fast, it was great. You just got great stage presence. And
thank you.
And it's not. I mean, you can definitely change character and get into other characters, and you showed that in the last couple of shows that I've seen you in. So it's
just when roles that require yelling, I kind of fit that role perfect, kind of.
Yeah.
I know. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I know. I kind of just appeared out of nowhere last year in 2022 because every single episode I've talked about this. So they're probably tired of hearing this by the time this comes out. This, yeah. But I kind of appeared out of nowhere in around 2022 because an old friend of mine, she said, "Hey, SIU's doing Grease. You should audition with me." And I said, "Girl, I have a broken leg. I broke my leg a week before Tech. You think they're gonna let me in?" And sure enough, Matt Williams of SIU, he let me get in. I played duty in SIU's Grease.
Okay, great.
And then after there, I did 11 shows since then in 1 year. And so doing that, you meet a lot of people. I mean,
so were you not doing much theater at all before?
I did. I mean, I did my school show every year. I did Gypsy with SIU in 2019.
Okay.
There's summer show because I did a show. I did Joseph at Frankfurt, and then there was a scout there and said, "Hey, do you want him to audition?" They talked to my mom, talked to me, and then sure enough, I'm auditioning with the late Tom Kidd, who he was the director.
Okay.
Bless his soul, and he was amazing. And then I didn't really do another local theater show until then. Because also COVID happened the next year after, so there wasn't really much of a chance to do it anyway.
Right.
And I missed one of my high school years, but I mostly stuck to school education, musical theater, and now I'm majoring in it. So It's kind of circle of life kind of thing, if you will.
Well, I'm so glad you're majoring in it because you definitely need to be doing it, and I definitely need to get to see you do it again. So
well, thank you. Mm-hmm. So back to the whole Swinford Media Group. Mm-hmm. So how did that come? I'm just going to ask, how did that come to be?
Okay, well, that's a really long story.
Yeah.
But I'll make it quick. Okay, so I told you that I was a youth pastor much of my adult life. But I was trained at SIU to be a journalist, and I first got into the newspaper business in 1988. And then worked in and out of the business as I was being a youth pastor, sometimes at the same time, 2 jobs, sometimes it was one or the other. But I worked different places, different newspapers, mostly just newspapers, but I did spend a year working at WSIL-TV and got some experience working behind the scenes there, and that was a great experience. Turned out to be a very important experience for me, and I'll explain why. But as I was working my way back out of the youth ministry into the newspaper business, an opportunity came up to get involved with a group that included the weekly paper that's in Heron called The Independent, and a weekly paper that's in Carterville called The Courier. And so I took that opportunity. I had been the editor of the Marion Daily Republican for a long time, and this was going to allow me a little bit more freedom, a little bit more control. And it was a small town, and small. It was kind of a family business organization. It wasn't my family business, but it was a good man who I wanted to work with. So I did that, and that goes back now 12 years ago. And at the same time, Riley, my oldest, was in high school also working in journalism. Went on to SIU to study journalism. Wanted to get into the business. And when he came out, he was working at the Marion paper, Marion Republican, and came to me and my then what had kind of become a partner, Jerry Reppert, and asked if we could start the Marion Star newspaper. He wanted to kind of head that up. And so we said, sure, we'll take a shot. I mean, Marion's a good town.
Yeah.
We didn't anticipate the growth or where Marion would be even this many years later. And this is just 7 years later, but it's amazing what has changed. And 7 years later, we have moved onto the square. When we moved onto the square in Marion, really nobody wanted to be there, and now everybody wants to be there. And all of our buildings have become very valuable, and we're just very glad that we settled there and we are there. And so the Swinford Media Group fully came to be when my partner, Jerry, decided to sell out, and he was working his way toward retirement. So 5 years ago, we bought the 3 papers, and that is now the group. Now, then it goes on to a whole nother thing that we didn't anticipate. I mean, I knew the newspaper business quite a bit, but when we got into COVID, things shut down.
Digital age.
Digital became so important, right? And even, we started with a little bit of live streaming before COVID came along. We actually live streamed a football season for Marion the fall before COVID hit, and so it'd be fall of 2019. But then because we had that experience, we knew how to stream it in a kind of quality way. We decided we were going to start doing some things called the Marion Star Live, and that really kicked in at COVID because it wasn't enough just to send you a paper every week to tell you what was happening. Every day there were new things happening, and there were new decisions being made, and
national and local.
Yeah, and Mayor Absher, that right there in Marion, 2 doors down from us at City Hall, was having to make decisions every day about what could stay open, what had to be shut down, how much they were going to try to follow the governor's lead, how much they were going to do their own thing. There's just a lot of tension. But the journalists were one of the few fields that were allowed to work, and we did not have to shut our operation down and send people home. So we were all, probably way too many people, crowded into our building during that time, working to produce these daily live stream broadcasts. And then we called it the Marion Star Live. And we were just putting out information every day. And we hired some kids, mostly, who wanted to go into journalism. They were very talented kids. They went out chasing stuff because they weren't in school.
Yeah.
And
they had time to do it since school wasn't in.
So we developed a reputation then. Then we were asked by Josh Benson to come over to the Civic Center and live stream something that he was going to call the Empty Concert Series because he had to cancel all these concerts because of COVID. And so some of these artists were going to still come. They were going to take whatever money the city could provide, and they were going to do a concert on the stage in front of nobody.
Yeah.
And so we live streamed that so people could still watch and still have some culture going on. And that turned out to be a very popular thing, and it was nice for us to get to be in the middle of that. So the Swinford Media Group started to get traction, a little bit of a name. Our Marion Star Facebook page kind of grew. We got up to 20,000 followers. And then your buddy over there in West Frankfort,
Yeah,
Aaron Price, was doing some pretty amazing stuff, even as at that time, like a freshman in high school.
Yeah, I think because I remember we were talking one day because I saw WFC and I saw Aaron Price and I asked him the next day in school and I was like, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm starting a news thing." I'm like, "Oh, okay, go you."
Kid couldn't drive yet, but we would run into him at these different events. We also had the Black Lives Matter stuff, the rallies on downtown that were happening. I remember running into Aaron there. He was there live streaming that at the same time that we were, and we started thinking maybe we should be working together rather than just doing the same thing on two different Facebook pages. And so we started doing a little bit of that. He continued on to build his page, WFCN. But we also started buying some things from him, and that was really the only way he was making any money off of all his hard work.
Because he spent every minute he had doing that.
Every minute he had.
I remember we would ask him to go hang out or stuff like that, and he would just be like, "I'm sorry, there's this new thing happening. I gotta go to record."
And he loves it, and to this day, that's who he is. But but in those days, his poor mom and grandma were having to drive him everywhere, and they were sitting in the car while he was out there interviewing somebody or live streaming something. And so, eventually he got his license. And eventually, he was doing more and more. But we were continuing to buy video packages from him that he had done, stories that he had done, using it on our stuff or turning it into print stories for the paper. And when he graduated last year and told us he was going to be going to John A. Logan and he was going to stay in this journalism thing, then we said, okay, it's time for you just to become an employee and come to work for us, and for us to invest in your page and your 50,000 followers. And so that became the deal, and he came to work for us. And so now at WFCN is officially part of the Swinford Media Group, along with our other pages, our as well as our Twitter and our Instagram. And we understand that we have a lot of people who know us from socials more so than they know us from print.
Yeah.
That being said, we have some print readers that have no idea about social media.
Yeah.
So we have a unique situation in that we are reaching a wide audience and a wide range of people and ages.
And it's just nice because everyone is getting informed about this.
Yeah, and so they're getting some version of every story in some way. And we will always be good at doing print because that's where we started, but we're getting pretty good at the other now. And then we do things like, and this is a lot of the credit for this goes to Aaron too. We do things like live stream the Very Merry Christmas Parade, which had the Budweiser Clydesdales in it this year. It was such a big deal. And we had 35,000 people watching that thing on Facebook. It was
35,000?
35,000. You think about this area, you're like, where are these people coming from?
Yeah.
But you take the power of WFCN and how far he reaches.
It spread it. I remember whenever he first started that, because I remember he put those little like picket sign things, like metal plastic things in yards, one in front of McDonald's everywhere. Yeah. And at first I was like, West Frankfort Channel News? I didn't realize it was Williamson and Franklin County until probably about last year, if I'm being honest. I thought it was just West Frankfort. Then I kept seeing he's doing other stuff in like Marion. I'm like, that's not West Frankfort. Then
it's a very clever name because the call letters on any media in this side of the Mississippi starts with a W. So kind of very clever that it sounds like a TV station or a radio station or something like that.
Yeah.
But of course, the original intent, I guess, was for Williamson and Franklin County. But he goes everywhere now.
Yeah.
He's getting over here to Jackson County quite a bit. He goes to Perry County quite a bit. Matter of fact, we have some newspaper friends in Perry County who aren't very happy that he's coming up and covering their stuff, but
you reach out when you can.
That's the business. That's the news business. And
I know whenever I remember 8th grade or whatnot, we were just hanging out in homeroom, whatnot, barely talking to each other, and then he would just be on YouTube. I'm like, "What are you doing on YouTube?" And he used to start this thing where every day when he got home from school, he would just record and talk about the weather.
Yeah.
And then do that every day. Then it moved to that. And
he's got weather cams everywhere. So anybody that where you're recording this podcast on I don't know if I'm supposed to tell people, but we're recording this podcast on January 11th.
Yeah.
So this weekend we're supposed to have some major weather. So there are going to be people all over his stuff this weekend because he's got cameras all over the place, and he'll be able to track the weather as well as, I dare say, as well as WSIL or some place that has millions of dollars worth of equipment and several people. He will be all over that thing, and there's no stopping him. So we are thrilled to have him as part of our team, obviously.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, even like with the business of reporting or news reporting, if something happens, you have to go to it because it's first. It's kind of like first person there. They get the report. They probably got one of the best things that.
Yeah, it kind of works that way. It kind of works that way. You know, it's not always as urgent as you sometimes make it out to be. The important thing for us is that we get it right, okay? And that's one of the things that Aaron's learning over time. That's one thing every journalist needs to learn. It's not most important to be first. It's supposed to be important to be the first one that gets it right. And so you gotta follow up. You can't just necessarily blare everything that you hear out to the world because you want to be accurate. And that's one of the things with social media, and one of the reasons there will always be a place for trained journalists in this world is because social media can be a place for anybody to get on there and tell what they think they know.
Yeah.
But trained journalists are ones that are trained to know how to find out if something's true, to check sources, to make the extra phone call, and to find out if what they're getting ready to say is accurate. It's a very dangerous thing, and it causes a lot of damage to throw a lot of stuff out there that you don't know is necessarily true, but you think so, and you just want to be the first to tell people. And there are a lot of people that are like that. You don't have to be a journalist to be the person that wants to be the first to tell somebody something.
Yeah.
It's a gossipy kind of thing, but that's not what we're in the business of. We're not in the business of gossip. We're in the business of telling you facts. And unless we know we've got it right, we're not necessarily going.
Yeah, I mean, you wanna be a brand that can be trusted.
And that's why I think we've had success. Is because I've been in the business for quite a while. I've got a good reputation. Riley's developed a good reputation. Our name has gotten associated with, news that is accurate and that is responsible, and that is that's got integrity, and that is not just chasing necessarily every whim and every ambulance, but instead finding the things that are really important to the most people.
That make the most impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long we've been recording. I'll have to look at it, but I think we've covered a lot about today.
I think we have.
Yeah, I'm really glad you came on. I had no idea how Swinford Media Group got started. I just knew it as that they're the annual every sponsor for every show I've done kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
It is a pleasure, and as much as I like this format for you, I also want you to do plenty of your nutty, crazy, angry stuff that I enjoy watching.
Oh, just you wait for Brandon's episode to come out. Brandon McGee's episode. You wait.
You guys get out of control.
Just you wait.
Yeah. Okay. See, I wasn't sure what I was going to experience sitting here, and so I'm glad to see that you're getting that out with the guys like Brandon.
Well, my thing is, I wanted the first few episodes to have people actually listen to it. That way, they just think I'm a crazy lunatic just ranting about conspiracies and whatnot.
Right.
And then later on, we'll get to parts like that.
Then it goes crazy after.
It'll go haywire.
So Brandon will be after me.
Brandon's gonna be before you. So.
Oh, Brandon's gonna be before.
Yeah, I recorded him like a few days ago.
Potentially nobody's watching this because they checked out after the Brandon.
Well, he was the first episode. And I kind of made a deal with him that like in a year, if I don't have 50 episodes uploaded, he gets everything.
He gets everything.
I did it on camera.
What is everything? This stuff? Everything in this room?
Everything in the room.
There's some good stuff in here, man.
I know. That's a good computer.
Is this in writing?
It was on camera.
50 episodes is a lot. That's a lot of people.
I didn't realize that that's an episode a week.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
That's a lot. That's a lot of responsibility.
And so
you got to just stick with it.
I can't go back now.
Yeah.
That was like a week ago.
But you also just can't bring on just anybody.
No.
You can't go out and ask the mailman to come in just because you need an episode. I mean, maybe your mailman.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff you don't know about.
I'm not necessarily, and you got the place down by the door where you say that delivery people can sign in.
Yeah.
So maybe one of them would be a good interview. But I'm just saying, just continue to work hard at this.
Yeah.
And someday we'll be talking about the Steinberger Media Group.
Steinberger Media Group. I like the sound of that.
Steinberger Productions, something like that. I like that even better. Yeah, because I don't necessarily want you competing with me.
I don't know.
In the media world.
I could buy you out.
As far as productions, well, that's always fine. Make me an offer anytime. I'll be ready.
I'll give you $2.
$2 million.
$2 million. So you tell me right now, if I had $2 million, you would let me buy you guys out?
As long as I could still have a job.
Oh, I would just buy it out, and I would want profit. You guys still do what you want. I just want to be the owner.
You just want to have your name.
I just want to have my name on. I mean, that's the way you do it. You just
Yes,
you don't
we
do
would
any
do
work.
that.
You just
We
buy
would
it out.
change the name of our business.
To Steinford.
Steinberger. We combine our names. Steinford
Media
Burger.
Group.
Steinford Burger.
Steinford Burger Media
Okay.
Group.
All right.
I think that's good.
Then we better go.
Probably. Well, thank you both for coming on. Appreciate it. I'm sure I'll have you back on at some point.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Nikki.
Bye bye.
Bye, buddy.